Hi, I'm Lily, and I'm here to talk about anger, aggression, and impulse control, which is highlighted in chapter 11 of our book. So, the learning objective for this lecture is to describe the biological basis of anger, aggression, and impulse control while talking about the neurochemicals and the neural structures. So first I want to give a brief introduction to any emotional response. And emotional response consists of three different components. The first is behavioral. So behavioral is the actual muscle movements, us actually acting out that response. The second is autonomic, which is the mobilization of energy to create these movements within the body. And the final is hormonal, where we have hormones such as epinephrine and norepinephrine are secreted in order to increase blood flow and convert nutrients to glucose. So you have these three components, you get an emotional response. So the first neurochemical involved in anger, aggression, impulse control is testosterone. We often associate this with aggressiveness, especially in males. It has actually been found to reinforce and influence responses to certain situations. So injections of testosterone increase activity in brain areas associated with perceiving threats only in response to seeing pictures of angry faces. So these brain areas are the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and they only increase their activity if you have that picture of an angry face. So you have to have that angry face, that angry movement to increase this activity. And it goes the other way as well. It goes, if you have a generous, a nice context of a situation, testosterone will increase the response to that. So it's not just an automatic aggressive hormone. It doesn't just make someone aggressive. It's actually highly dependent on the context of the situation. And testosterone influences a response that is most likely to increase the social status of the individual. So if they're going to be nice back, that's going to get their social status up. That's what testosterone will do. The second neurochemical is serotonin. So a metabolite of serotonin is 5-HIAA, and this is what they measure to measure serotonin. And high levels of this indicate a high level of serotonergic activity, vice versa, low levels, low activity. So a study was done where a group of researchers followed monkeys for 4 years, and these were their results. At the beginning of the study, young male monkeys with low levels of 5-HIAA in the cerebrospinal fluid had the highest occurrence of risk-taking behavior, such as fighting other monkeys, taking risks in their own environment. And at the end of these 4 years, they were found to also have the highest mortality rate of the group. Young male monkeys in the same study group with the highest levels of the serotonin metabolite were found to have a significantly higher survival rate after 4 years. They also engaged a lot less in risky behavior. So serotonin in humans, we see the same thing. Low levels of this in the cerebrospinal fluid equal generalized aggression, assault, murder, the list goes on, child abuse, just all the really bad aggressive behaviors you can think of. So what does this tell us about the serotonin's role in aggression? We can tell by these studies that it inhibits aggression. When higher levels of serotonin, we see lower levels of risky behavior, aggression, higher control of the impulses. So it works as a controlling influence against all this risky behavior. Heredity also plays a key part in aggression. Using twin studies, correlations were found within identical twins in relation to aggressive and antisocial behavior. These correlations were not even as close as significant within fraternal twins. This indicates a genetic component in these behaviors, less than an environmental one. So we have some general information on genes passed down involved with human aggression. We know that genes involved in serotonin and dopamine signaling are involved in aggression. And questions have come up about whether the Y chromosome is, because it is seen more in males. There's also a question of dopamine. What role does it play? Well, we know that the mesolimbic dopamine system is involved in aggressive behaviors as it provides motivation for these behaviors. And these questions kept coming up, so I ended up choosing my article to focus more on this topic, which will be at the end. So the ventromedial prefrontal cortex in the brain inhibits emotional behavior. It also inhibits conditioned fear responses. So we have a case study, Phineas Gage, very popular case study in psychology. He was involved in an accident at work where a metal rod went through his brain and damaged this ventromedial prefrontal cortex. Pre-accident, his friend said he was serious, industrious, energetic. And post-accident, his personality totally changed. He was childish, irresponsible, thoughtless. So from this study, we can tell that damage to this area increases anxiety, emotional instability, irritability, and as well as it decreases judgment, planning, social appropriateness. But they found no problems with cognition when dealing with damage to this area. So my supplemental research article focused a lot on all the different neurochemicals that are involved in aggression and anger. So we know that there's a link between brain damage to the prefrontal cortex and increased aggressive behavior. This is because the prefrontal cortex inhibits areas in the hypothalamus and amygdala that promote aggression. It's inhibitory. So when we see higher levels of impulsive aggression, we see very low levels of prefrontal cortex activation because it's not inhibiting that aggression. We know that dopamine is necessary for the expression of aggressive behavior. Therefore, blocking of dopamine receptors could very well reduce arousal and stress responses, therefore working to overall reduce that anger, that aggression. An increase in GABA activity in the septal forebrain also increases aggression. And the final neurochemical is noradrenaline, which their signaling facilitates aggression. So this article really talked about a lot of neurochemicals that were involved in aggression. And here are my references. Thank you.